Imagination, creation. What about you? What do you see in this block of mahogany? No, really, look at it for a moment. It could become 1,000 different things. What would you do with it? Imagination and creation are some pretty amazing things if you stop to think about it. Many think that they are some unique properties that humans possess that no other creatures on earth have. And even though some may disagree with that, it is certainly true that humans are the only ones that possess these attributes in the seemingly unlimited way that we as humans do. And yet, so often, we as humans are crippled in our ability to, without limit, delve into the world of imagination and creation. Somewhere along the way, what every child is given, this ability to create and imagine without boundaries, is chipped away at. It happens to all of us, to varying degrees and on different schedules, but for all of us it happens. Part of it is reality, or what we perceive to be reality. We begin to understand more about the world, both consciously and unconsciously, and somehow we tell ourselves that we shouldn't think that way anymore because it conflicts with reality. And as we do, we part ways with the imaginary friends of our youth and the adventures that we had with them. The adults around us often confirm this reality limit, and to the things they tell us we can't do because it is not possible, they then add the things that according to them we should not do. And into our lives comes the limits of personal and societal expectations. With their entrance, the playing field of imagination and creation shrinks a little more. And finally, failure comes knocking at our door. This is not the failure of that which is not possible. That falls under the heading of reality. The failure I speak of here is the failure of that which is possible. We know it's possible because we see others succeeding at it, and yet, for whatever reason, we can't. We try, and sometimes we try again and again, but for whatever reason, success is fleeting. And with it, a little more of imagination and creation scampers away. It can't be done. It shouldn't be done. And it can be done, but I can't do it. All three of these chip away at the childhood reality of creation and imagination without limits. All three of these follow us out of childhood and continue to chip after chip, year after year, confront us with a life with limits. All three of these make us see that block of mahogany is just a chunk of wood. Why is it then that some of us can look at a piece of mahogany and see an infinite amount of possibilities, and others just see a chunk of wood? If we all have these three experiences that rob us of the childhood attribute of unlimited imagination and creation, then what makes the difference between someone who sees themselves as creative and imaginative and someone who does not? Are some people naturally creative and others not? Was Escher's ability to see differently some unique gifting? Were some people born with the ability to imagine things where others were not? Was Einstein's ability to see into the depths of time and space unique, or is it available to others? Within the realm of Judeo-Christian thinking that I grew up in, there is the account of God creating the world in Genesis 1. On day 6 of creation, God creates man and woman. And this is the really mind-blowing thing. It says that they were created in the image of God. Created in the image of God. Clear your mind and think about that one for a couple minutes. Thousands of theologians over thousands and thousands of years have speculated on what this phrase, the image of God, actually means. One small part of that discussion suggests that, in part, it means that we as men and women, like God, have the ability to create, have the ability to imagine. In other words, every person, not just a select few, has in them the ability to create and imagine. To see a lump of clay and create humanity. To hold a chunk of mahogany and see something more than just a chunk of mahogany. It is this framework of belief that forces me to reject the idea that unlimited imagination and creation are ways of thinking that only a select few were meant to have. But this only brings back the question, why are some people, after confronting the realities of it can't be done, it shouldn't be done, and it can be done but I can't do it, how can they somehow reclaim the concept of unlimited imagination and creation, and others cannot? The answer to this is not one that I would claim to know in full. But there is one facet of it that I do know because I've experienced it firsthand. It is the presence, the teaching, and the encouragement of other people. People who themselves have, for whatever reasons, been able to escape the black hole that sucks the imagination and creation out of us. These are people who have learned to reject the concepts of it can't be done, it shouldn't be done, and I can't do it, and have instead replaced those statements with what if, why not, and I can. Almost universally, people who call themselves creative can point to somebody or several somebodies who, when they said, that's impossible, replied with, what if it was possible? And when they said, I shouldn't do that, replied with, why not? And when they said, I can't, replied with, I think you can. Sometimes it's a parent or a grandparent. For many of us, it was a teacher. Sometimes a friend, a pastor, a priest, or imam. Other times, it is not one particular person, but a community of people who have learned to open their minds together and to see the world once again through the eyes of a child, a world without limits. Okay, reality check. I need to take a moment and inject a modicum of reality against my own appeal for us to see with unlimited creation and imagination. Because in reality, I do believe that sometimes it can't be done. Humans will never run a 3-minute mile. And sometimes it shouldn't be done. We should not genetically engineer our children to be smart and strong. And sometimes we really can't do it. Not everybody can dunk a basketball, even if many can. But here's where the difference lies with those who see life with unlimited creation and imagination. They are people who never say never. Even if it is impossible, they believe it's possible to get closer. Even if it shouldn't be done, they understand the why behind that decision, and they make a conscious choice not to do it because it is the better choice. And even if they can't do something, they don't allow that reality to define them as a failure, but to help steer them towards other areas of success. Simply put, they never stop believing, they never stop engaging, and they never stop trying. Now, because I personally believe that the ability to create is an innate attribute in every human being, I believe it can never be snuffed out of humanity. All the reality, all the naysayers, all the failure in the world will not keep it from resurfacing. With every child that comes into this world, unlimited imagination and creation is born anew. But there will always be an irreplaceable role that people have, that individuals will play in the renewing of this attribute in the lives of others. And this is where it gets really exciting. You and I can play a role in this process. You and I, through the way we live our lives, can learn to see the possibility where others see impossibility. You and I can learn to ask, why not, when the default answer is should not, and seek to understand the why behind the should. And you and I can refuse to accept failure as a label, but instead see it as a launch pad to succeeding the next time. But just as importantly is how we see the world and our place in it, is how we help others to see the world and their place in it. Never underestimate the power of words you speak to another person, of the actions you take towards them. You have the ability to encourage someone away from the cliff of impossibility and show them the unending horizon of possibility. You can help a child to continue to see the world through the eyes of imagination even as they grow into adulthood. And you can teach an adult how to once again see the world through the eyes of a child, even as they grow older. In my journey, there were specific people who fulfilled this role. My high school shop teachers, Mr. Hoffman and Mr. Henry, both opened my eyes to see the world of making things. But it was in a small furniture design and making school in upstate New York where my thinking was really challenged. The teachers, the resident artists, and the other students, too many to list, challenged me to think beyond the walls that I had built around me. I arrived simply wanting to rebuild furniture that others had already built, and left several years later realizing that each board I pick up has the potential to become a new creation, yet to be imagined, yet to be built. It is likely that without having been surrounded by others who were actively reclaiming life with unlimited imagination and creation for themselves, and having been willing to share their journeys with me, that I may never have realized how limited my view of the world really was, let alone confront it and begin to understand that I can regain the eyes of a child, seeing once again the world with unlimited imagination and creation for myself. And now it is my turn, or can I say it is our turn, to be that person in someone else's life, to be someone who, through our words and our actions, help others to likewise regain this childlike view of the world, to help others walk beyond the world of "it can't be done" by asking them, "what if it could?" To respond to others who say it should not be done with "why not?" And to encourage others mired in the web of "I can't do it" with the life-changing words, "I think you can." To be people who can hold a chunk of mahogany and see a beautiful bowl.